Something happens in your home every single time your dog does something wrong. And it happens before you've said a single word. You walk in. You see it. The cushion turned inside out, the food pulled off the counter and half-eaten on the floor. And your dog is already crouched, already small, ears flattened, head low, tail moving in that slow, uncertain half-wag. Those enormous eyes tilted up at you, sorry and soft and almost unbearably human. And you think the exact thing every owner on earth thinks in that moment. He knows what he did. He feels terrible about it. He's guilty. You're not alone in reading it that way. In one survey, around 3 out of 4 dog owners said they believe their dog feels guilt. It's the most natural interpretation in the world. It might be the only one that even occurs to you, but it's wrong. And what's actually going on is far more interesting than guilt has ever been. The guilty look isn't a mystery anymore. It's been put under a microscope. In 2009, Alexandra Horowitz, a canine cognition researcher at Barnard College, designed an experiment built to do one very specific thing: pull apart two ideas that normally arrive tangled together, whether a dog actually did something wrong, and whether a dog looks guilty. In everyday life, those two things always show up at the same time. The mess and the face appear together, so we assume one caused the other. Horowitz set out to separate them. Here's what she did. Dogs were told by their owner not to eat a treat. Then the owner left the room. While they were gone, some dogs ate the forbidden treat and some didn't. Then the owners came back. And this is the clever part. Horowitz controlled what each owner was told. Sometimes an owner was told their dog had eaten the treat when the dog had actually behaved perfectly. Sometimes an owner was told their dog had been good when it had actually broken the rule. So she ended up with every possible combination. Innocent dogs greeted warmly. Innocent dogs scolded. Guilty dogs let off the hook. Guilty dogs told off. And in each case, she measured the guilty look, the lowered head, the pinned ears, the whole hangdog display. Here's what came back. The guilty look had almost nothing to do with whether the dog had actually done anything wrong. What it lined up with was the owner's behavior. When owners scolded, the look appeared. When owners stayed warm, it mostly stayed away, even from dogs who had eaten the treat. And the strongest, most heartbreaking guilty look of all came from the dogs that had done nothing wrong and got scolded anyway. Perfectly innocent, fully obedient, and wearing the guiltiest face in the room, because the person they love had walked in unhappy. Sit with that particular result for a second, because it has a consequence you may have lived through without realizing it. If you've ever had 2 dogs, you know the scene. Something's been destroyed, nobody saw it happen, and one dog is doing the full guilty crumble while the other stands there bright and unbothered. And you think, well, that settles it. The guilty one did it. Except the science says that's exactly the read you can't trust. The dog throwing the biggest guilty display is often just the softer, more sensitive one, the one most tuned to your mood. The actual culprit might be the one wagging at you without a care. The face is not a confession. It never was. Now here's where I want to be careful, because this is the part that usually gets flattened online into something the research does not actually say. This study does not prove that dogs never feel guilt. Horowitz has been explicit about that. She said plainly that her work was not about whether dogs feel guilt, and that she would hate for people to walk away thinking the case is closed. Guilt is a genuinely hard thing to measure, hard even in humans, where we can just ask. What the study shows is narrower and honestly more useful than a headline. The guilty look is not reliable evidence of guilt. The face you've been reading as a confession isn't tracking a crime. It's tracking you. And Horowitz is honest about something else too. Something most of us feel. She's admitted that when she looks at a dog doing the guilty look, it still feels like guilt to her. We're kind of built to see it that way. That's not a failure on your part. It's a very old human habit of reading our own inner life onto the faces around us. The point of the science isn't to make you feel foolish for seeing guilt. It's to show you what's really there, which turns out to be better. So if it isn't a confession, what is it? The behavior has a name in animal science: appeasement. And to understand it, you have to step out of the human frame completely. Dogs are deeply social animals with a rich, precise vocabulary of signals for managing relationships and keeping the peace. Appeasement isn't defeat, and it isn't groveling. It's communication, active, deliberate, aimed at a goal. The lowered head, the averted eyes, the licking of the lips, the softened body, the slow, uncertain tail. These are the moves social canids use to diffuse tension, the same family of signals dogs send each other to head off a conflict before it starts. Broadcast in your direction, the message is roughly this: I'm not a threat. I'm not looking for a fight. Whatever this tension is between us, please let it stay small. That's what the look is for. Not to look backward at a chewed cushion. To reach forward, right now, and settle the thing between the two of you. Your dog isn't confessing. Your dog is de-escalating. And the reason they're so good at it is the reason this whole story turns from a letdown into something much better. Because to run that appeasement in the exact instant you walk through the door, your dog has to be reading something. And what they're reading is you, your face, your posture, the particular way your body goes still when something is wrong. This isn't a poetic guess, it's measurable. At the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna, researchers trained 20 dogs on photographs until the dogs could tell a happy human face from an angry one. Then came the real test. The dogs were shown new faces they had never seen before. And, cleverly, sometimes only the top half of a face, sometimes only the bottom, so the dogs couldn't cheat by latching onto something obvious like bared teeth. The dogs still sorted happy from angry, well above chance, on faces and face halves they'd never encountered. They weren't memorizing individual pictures, they had learned the emotion itself. And one detail stands out. The dogs were quicker to warm to the happy faces, and slower to work with the angry ones, as if they already understood from a lifetime of watching us that an angry human face is one to be careful around. Your dog has been running that same experiment on you, every day, for years. Every tightening around your eyes before bad news, every shift in your shoulders, every particular pace you walk at right before something unpleasant happens. They filed all of it away, not as a scheme, but the way any animal living in close quarters with another slowly builds an accurate map of how that other one works. And there's a reason your dog is so unusually good at this, a reason that reaches back thousands of years. Somewhere across the long process of becoming dogs, of moving in alongside us, generation after generation, they turned into specialists at one particular skill, reading humans. When researchers compare dogs to their wolf ancestors, dogs come out strikingly better at picking up on our social signals. Point at a hidden treat, and a dog will follow your gesture almost effortlessly to find it, while even wolves raised by people struggle with the same simple cue. Your dog didn't just learn to watch you over the course of their own life. They come from a long line of animals for whom watching us closely and reading us accurately was one of the most important things they ever did. The attention you're getting is inherited as much as it's learned, which is part of why it's so sharp and so hard for your dog to switch off. And they don't only read you after something has gone wrong. They check you constantly to figure out how to feel about the world in the first place. There's a striking line of research on this from the University of Milan, testing what scientists call social referencing. Dogs were shown something strange and mildly alarming. In one version, a whirring electric fan with plastic ribbons flapping off it, the kind of thing a dog has no idea what to make of. And most of the dogs, more than 8 in 10, did exactly what a human toddler does when something new and unsettling appears. They turned and looked back at their person, not at the fan, at their person's face. And then they took their cue from it. When the owner spoke to the object warmly and looked relaxed, dogs were more willing to move toward it and investigate. When the owner sounded alarmed, dogs held back. Your dog treats your face as the instruction manual for reality. Sit with that, because it reframes the guilty look entirely. Your dog isn't standing over the evidence feeling remorse the way you would. Your dog is doing something arguably more impressive, reading your emotional state in real time and producing behavior tuned precisely to it. You are not just someone they happen to live with. You have become the thing they orient by, the compass, the source they check, moment to moment, to know whether the world is safe right now. And this is the part I most want to land, because it flips the whole story. The fact that the guilty look isn't guilt is not a downgrade of your dog's inner life. It's the opposite. That look only works, it's only possible, because your dog knows your face that well. Because they have spent so much time pointed at you, watching you, building such a detailed internal model of how you express yourself, that they can catch the very first flicker of your displeasure before you've fully formed it yourself. That is not background noise from sharing a house. Researchers who study the dog-human bond describe a relationship that looks, behaviorally, a great deal like the attachment between a young child and a parent. You function as a secure base, a safe center your dog navigates out from and returns to. The guilty look is one of the clearest everyday fingerprints of exactly that bond. Which raises a fair question. If your dog isn't feeling guilt in that moment, are they feeling nothing at all? No. Something real is happening. The crouch, the flattened ears, those huge uncertain eyes. That is not an empty performance. Researchers describe what's underneath it as stress, anxiety, the specific tension of a profoundly social animal, noticing that the single most important individual in their world is unhappy, and not yet knowing how to make it right. Your dog is genuinely uneasy. They just aren't uneasy about the cushion. They're uneasy about you. And once you see that clearly, one very practical thing follows. Something that can quietly change how you live with your dog. Scolding a dog for something they did 20 minutes ago does not teach the lesson you think it teaches. In that moment, your dog isn't connecting your anger to the crime. There is no good evidence they're holding the memory of the cushion in mind and linking it to the look on your face. What they're connecting your anger to is your arrival. So the lesson that actually lands isn't don't destroy the cushion. It's closer to when they come home moving like that. Make yourself small. You've trained an appeasement reflex, not a conscience. If you want to change what a dog does when you're gone, the science points somewhere else entirely, to management and to catching behavior in the moment. But it does not point to the guilty face, because the guilty face was never about the deed. This is also why dogs can seem so completely, enviably present. Whatever they carry, they don't appear to sit and stew over a mistake from an hour ago the way we do. And that same present tense wiring, that total tuning to what is happening right now between the two of you, is the very thing that lets your dog know you're having a bad day before you've said a word. It's the same sensitivity that brings them padding across the room to lean into your leg at the exact moment you needed something warm and alive against you. It runs in both directions. You just tend to notice it only when there's a wrecked cushion involved. So here's the shift worth making. The next time you walk in and find the mess and the face, try seeing it for what it actually is. Not a small animal who wronged you and is pretending to feel bad about it. A small animal who has just detected that you are unhappy and is doing the single most sophisticated thing they know how to do, offering every signal of peace and goodwill they have, all at once, hoping it helps. The lowered head, the soft eyes, the uncertain tail. It isn't manipulation and it isn't a con, it's sincere. It's a nervous system doing precisely what it evolved to do in a moment of tension with the being it is most attached to. Your dog isn't defiant, and your dog isn't indifferent. Your dog is trying to repair something with you, in the only language they have. And that's the strange gift buried inside the most misread expression in the entire dog world. The guilty look was never proof that your dog understands right from wrong. It's proof of how thoroughly, how precisely, how constantly your dog is paying attention to you. Right now, while you're thinking about dinner or scrolling your phone, there is a decent chance your dog is quietly reading your face, updating the map, watching your weather. Not because they're anxious or insecure, because you are the center they organize everything else around. Every video on this channel starts with a question most dog owners stop just short of asking, not the comfortable version, the real one, and then goes looking, through the behavioral science, through the research that takes years to surface, through the kind of careful attention that changes how you see an animal you were sure you already understood completely. Because that is what we do here. Every single time.